before about their process. Would you liken it to walking straight into a bank for a home loan? Like, do the dealers have access to multiple options? Because you said it might not be the best out there. So the dealerships have, how do they work? Do they just have one lender that they can lend to, or what happens there?
Look, you're right. That's another real big positive that the mortgage broker has: access to a multitude of lenders.
Absolutely.
Now, most dealerships have 2 to 3 lenders max. And the thing is there as well is that when you have such a small amount of lenders to play with, you only know those 2 or 3 lenders, right? Where the mortgage broker, one of the things that makes a mortgage broker successful is that your ability to understand different lenders, and the ability to understand different lenders to tailor the best product for your client. Now, essentially, what can happen is that, and again, it's a thing that it's a contentious issue, is that you're always going to be pointed to the area where you make the most money, and that can happen. Whereas from our end, on our side of the fence, we really can do our best to get the client what suits them, based on their personal circumstances. So, as far as dealership, you're limited in regards to what you have available to you from a financier perspective, and you're taking down a journey sometimes of things that you don't really need. And again, that's one of the things that came out in the Royal Commission, and the beauty about the industry now is more level playing field even from the insurance side of things. Customers aren't getting put into things that they don't need. And what I mean by that, insurances, terms that are well and truly outside of what they needed. Residuals, I think residuals, the balloons at the end, sometimes you put in astronomical balloons, which means that you're continuously in this cycle of being in that car but carrying over the car that you previously owned.
Right.
And that's not a cycle to be in. And that's where people get into a point where they start to have financial hardship because they just can't get out of it. And instead of the repayments going down, they're actually increasing. So, these are the sort of things that no longer happen. You can't finance negative equity anymore, which is great. At the end of the day, it's not great for the person who wants to get out of a car and get into a new one, but it's great because it manages their circumstances. Yes, they may not get into the car, 2 years earlier than they wanted to, but at least in 2 years' time, they're in a good position.
Right.
Sometimes you've just got to keep what you have.
So it sounds like a lot of the changes that have happened already have actually been for the consumer's benefit.
Absolutely, and all implemented. And look, as far as a shift in mentality, I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's, yes, commissions aren't as big, but just do more deals.
Right. So for a broker who hasn't touched asset finance, or who's played a little bit but they're not too sure, and they were in that old mentality of go find a car first, come back to me, and by then it's too late. What can they do to sort of get started and start winning those deals more, and how do they approach that conversation with the customer?
Look, I think you need to approach the conversation through your marketing. I think you need to look at your database. You need to see, make sure all your details are updated, everything is there. One, either get on the phone, which I find is really successful. Get on the phone and speak to people that are clients of yours. Or 2, just start sending them regular updates as to what's happening in the industry, what you can do for them. Hey, did you know that we can do car loans for you? And it's starting at this rate. Did you know that we also have the ability to finance your truck or your piece of equipment? And you will get to one of your guys. You'll get to one of your clients. And then once you get to one of those clients and you give them a good experience, it's like anything. They talk to people. They start saying, hey, guess what? XYZ Financial, they used to do my mortgages, but I just recently financed my truck with them. And they were awesome. Didn't you say that you're looking for a truck or you're looking for a car? You need to go see these guys. It's all like that. I think regardless of how strong technology plays a part in everything that we do, being able to get on the phone and giving a client a good experience, I think well and truly outweighs any of that.
Awesome. And I know all of you out there are all about giving your clients a good experience. And I mentioned before about, we're not just mortgage brokers anymore. We have to be finance brokers, or just full stop role, question mark brokers.
One-stop shop,
right? So, great, we may or may not be losing trail for home loans, right? We may or may not be losing our funds for home loans, but what else can we do? We can do the asset finance. Out of the asset finance, can brokers refer to insurers as well?
Absolutely.
Can brokers refer to car buying services as well?
Absolutely.
Right? Unlike a house, cars are going to be upgraded every 3 to 5 years, right?
Well, I look, and starting to get less and less. They're becoming like mobile phones.
It's exactly, right? It might even be mobile phone finance. Right? But from that, if you're not in this already, you've got finance the car, which will be every, let's say, 2 to 5 years, right? So there's a new things coming in every couple of years, right? Once you've given that client that one good experience, they will keep coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you all have this mentality of, oh, they'll come back to us for the next property, but how often is that?
Absolutely.
2 or 3 in 30 years for a really well-off family.
Absolutely.
Right? Car, they might go through 5 or 6 between the ages of 35 and 50, right?
And there are so many people within a family or friendship circles and social circles that you can just continuously get more and more and more transactions. Whereas these people may not be in a position to buy property. But this is a great starting point, because one of the things that lenders now look for, as you know, is credit history. Credit history.
Absolutely.
So, and I'll touch another thing as well. A lot of the time, again, one of the downfalls I think in the asset finance space for mortgage brokers is that one of the key things was put it on your mortgage. Doesn't help anyone, especially now with properties reducing. Prices of properties reducing. Secondly, pay cash for an asset, which they get a lot of advice for. How does that in any way help on a depreciating asset, especially for a first-time buyer? First-time buyer, look at a car as a really good way of getting yourself into credit history. Credit cards do not, or personal loans, or any of those other types of loans, do not give you the same credit standing as a car loan does.
Exactly.
It's just a good standing point to the next phase. And the other thing that I wanted to mention as well, a really good marketing tool or a statistic for mortgage brokers is that once a person or family or couple settle on a mortgage, they will buy a car within the 12 months of that settling.
Absolutely, because they need a new shiny vehicle for their new shiny driveway, right?
So if that's not a great way to market, exactly right. Yeah, everyone wants something nice and new, and it's the second biggest purchase any consumer will ever buy.
Right.
You got your house, and you got your car. Second biggest purchase you'll ever make. So it's got to be the right one.
Right. So what I'm hearing is there's sort of 3 strategies that you can take for the asset finance. There's option number 1. You've got the 18, 19, 20-year-old kids buying their first car. Do it for them. Get them the finance for that. They'll come back to you for the home loan in 6-7 years, right? When they've got a home, they're going to buy another car 12 months later, right? There's your option number 2. Everyone who's buying a home are likely to buy another car soon anyway.
They might be starting a business.
And number 3, they might be starting a business. So 4. Number 3, you've got those upgrading their car every 3 to 5 years, coming back to you every time, right? As far as I know, there's no clawbacks on asset finance, is there?
Only within the first 6 months.
First 6 months. What's the likelihood of that?
Very small.
Very small. Right, and for businesses, right, you've all got self-employed clients, you all look through their financials, you all go, oh, this is their profit, let's add back depreciation. Take the time to look at their balance sheet. What vehicles have they got? What leases have they got? When are they due, right? And the conversation you can have with them, you don't have to change anything. The conversation, it's exactly the same as if they've got another asset, a block of land on their financials.
Absolutely.
Or they're talking to you about potentially buying another house, right? You get in first. You help them discover what they can borrow, what they can get. You look through the deals, you get them a deal. They come back to you with the signed contract. You've already got the deal, right? Your mentality doesn't have to change. You just replace the word home with car. Absolutely. And it's the same conversation.
Absolutely.
And out of that comes all the other things, the insurance, the car buying services.
Lifestyle assets.
Yeah, the tinter window, I'm sure you can refer as well.
Oh, look,
hit my ride, get your car.
Absolutely. Look, it should be a fun experience. And it should be fun for mortgage brokers to do.
Should be.
You see the photos of people on Instagram and Facebook with their cars, with a nice ribbon. The mortgage broker should be a part of that. I help my client also get into their car, have a look. All these sort of things are nice touch points for people. They're trigger points. I see a person who's got a nice car, I'm like, wow, I want that. Where did they get it from? Especially if it's one of my mates. Oh, where'd you get that from? Oh, I bought it from, Holden over in Parramatta. Okay, who did you finance? It was my broker. It was fantastic. Okay, can you give me his number or give me her number?
Absolutely.
It's just a flow on. Exactly. It really is.
So guys, if you're not in it, start getting into it. It's easy. And I mean, you all started home lending at one point, and I'm sure at the time when you started, you didn't know what you were doing either. If you don't know what you're doing now, learn it, or refer to other services like Approved Motor Finance that can do the deal end to end without you having to worry about it, and still look after your client, and you still get what you deserve out of that deal, right? You look amazing in the eyes of the customer. You can learn it as you go as well.
Absolutely.
And you're getting all of this extra value out of it, potentially even a referral back every 3 to 5 years. What can go wrong?
Absolutely. Great way to use the database, and just great way to expand your business. Diversification, as they will say.
Absolutely. So thank you, George, for joining me today. And we'll see you next time.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.